Thank you, Yayu, and I would like to acknowledge His Excellency Ambassador Sito, as well as His Excellency Ambassador Silk, and our distinguished panelists, Ibakshas from Korea and Japan. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Japan Council Against A&H Bombs and my team at the Marshallese Educational Initiative for organizing today's event. Can you hear? Okay. A big thank you to our panelists once again. This week is an important week for all Marshallese, other nuclear survivors in the world. Last Saturday, my organization hosted Nuclear Victims Remembrance Day with the permanent mission of the Marshall Islands to the United Nations to commemorate the victims and survivors of U.S. nuclear testing in the Marshall Islands. Today is actually March 6th in the Marshall Islands, and it is a day in which 167 people on Bikini Atoll were removed. My great-great-grandparents were one of them. They both died without ever seeing their homelands ever again. Between 1946 and 58, the United States detonated large-scale atomic and hydrogen weapons above ground, underground, and underwater in the Marshall Islands, specifically on Bikini and Enuitak atolls, after forcefully removing Marshallese communities in these areas for nuclear weapons development. 67 known nuclear weapons were tested. This was equivalent to 7,200 Hiroshima bombs. From the stories I have heard and seen from our elders and those who have transitioned from this life, the testing and its aftermath have had devastating and ongoing consequences on the environment, health, and culture of the Marshallese people. For my grandparents' generation, many have developed cancer-related illnesses due to exposure and ionizing radiation from fallout from nuclear weapons tests and from residual radioactive sources. Since 2020, I lost 3 of my grandparents. All 3 of my grandparents had some form of cancer: thyroid, brain, lung, and prostate cancer, as well as other health issues. They were all part of the children of the nuclear age, a generation of Marshallese children who were born or lived their early childhood lives uninformed about the dangers of radiation exposure and the contamination of our atolls and islands by nuclear fallout. Nuclear-related health issues are intergenerational. Today, it is all too common to attend a funeral for a young person in their 20s or 30s who has passed due to cancer or from complications from diabetes, an illness unknown in the Marshall Islands before the U.S. occupation and nuclear testing caused forced relocation and drastic changes to the Marshallese diet. Now, the Marshall Islands has some of the highest rates of diabetes and cancers in the world. It is also important to note that before colonization, our people were not without illness, but lived relatively healthy lives with a diet rich in seafood and cultivated crops like coconut and pandanus. With the U.S. occupation, our lands from which comes our identity were devalued and selected as testing grounds for the world's deadliest weapons. Our people were also tested upon through a secret study called Project 4.1 without their consent on March 7th of 1954. Throughout the testing period, U.S. Americans encouraged our people to eat processed foods, first because they viewed it as modern and better than the traditional ways of our people they called savages. Then later, after nuclear testing irradiated our lands and food sources, it became a necessity. Nuclear colonialism's impact, devaluing our lands and our culture and replacing it, has worsened health outcomes for people already vulnerable to disease. Today, most Marshallese people have migrated to the United States, partly due to the Compact of Free Association, a bilateral agreement between the U.S. and the Marshall Islands, which the U.S. government renewed last year. This agreement fails to address the ongoing impact of the nuclear legacy, nor does it prepare migrants for the challenges and barriers that our people face here in the U.S. Marshallese communities in the U.S. are generally poor or low income due to low educational attainment, low-wage jobs, and lack of access to health insurance. I used to work as a community health worker at a clinic in Arkansas for Marshallese patients. I saw firsthand how many health issues are affecting our people. Despite our different ethnic backgrounds, we see similar issues among our communities. Health issues, the loss of loved ones, displacement or loss of homelands, and the list of injustice goes on. With this, let's continue to share our stories. There is nothing more powerful than our voices, and we have to use it in order to achieve nuclear justice for our communities and the abolishment of these deadly weapons. Thank you.